Andor Episode 12, Rick's Road. The finale of Andor Season 1 came and went, and like the penultimate episode, I have some thoughts about it which may or may not jive with everyone. So let's talk about it. For the finale, which ends up having the longest runtime in the entire season of 54 minutes, which that's pretty good, for the most part all takes place on Ferrix, the place where Cassian originally tried to run away from as a wanted fugitive, and now he's back as essentially somewhat of a hero of the people. Well, more so his mom is, and he works more in the shadows, but you know what I mean. However, that part wasn't entirely of a surprise, as we knew from the last episode that he would be coming back. The question more so was, how would he be able to do it without getting caught? And who would die trying to help him or, well, attempt to capture him? Because, of course, he's not the only one on Ferrix, as Dedra's Imperial forces are already stationed there, so that already includes Dedra. Then you've got Cyril and Mosk making their way to the planet with the purpose of becoming, I suppose, heroes themselves and catching Cassian. Cinta is also working undercover there, playing the long game waiting for Cassian. I mean, heck, she's even got herself a barmaid job in the city. That's just how committed she is to the cause, even emotionally ignoring Vel when she does return back, because all she's got on her mind is Cass. Well, you know, not just in the traditional sense. Plus, it goes without saying that we have Bee, Bix, Brasso, the Triple Bs, and all of Cassian's friends on Ferrix. All of which who are preparing for Marva's funeral, which quickly becomes the talk of the town, even with the Imperials too. And just to top things off, even Luthen arrives back to, I suppose, oversee the assassination of Cassian. Or if the situation gets ugly, then I suppose he's gonna take things into his own hands, who knows. But we get Ferrix as the homecoming location here for where all of the notable characters in this series and their plot threads, aside from Mon Mothma, come together on Ferrix, all of them there for none other than Cassian. This I liked, as it allowed the episode to move smooth and fluidly without having to worry about constant cuts to what someone else is doing on some other planet. Everything for the most part took place only on Ferrix, and there was none of that. I mean, sure, we got a little of that with Mon, but that wasn't much at all, and we instead got to focus solely on Ferrix to see everyone's plot threads tie up, and boy was there a lot happening here. With the last-minute funeral preparations, Cassian trying to sneak his way through the town to meet with his friends, all while, as it turns out, Nurchi is secretly working with the Empire as an informant and tips them off about Cassian's presence on Ferrix. Then things really kick off when the actual funeral commences on Rick's Road, causing the Empire to get nervous due to the sheer presence of people on the street. And I'll say this much, considering with everything going on Ferrix in this episode, I can't see how anyone could complain about this episode being boring. There's plenty of tension here, such as what Cassian is going to do, what the Imperials are going to do, especially seeing how trigger-happy they are and are ready to start mowing folks down, and of course the funeral itself, which we know there's gonna be some kind of riot or uprising here, and it's gotta be connected with the funeral in some way. And well, the way they went with, it was great, no complaints. Using a projected recording of Marva to say her last and final words to Cassian and everyone else, plus also giving an inspiring speech to fight back against the Empire was powerful stuff. Granted, I'm still a little salty that she died off-screen, nor did we get to see any of her rebel acts on screen, we only heard about them. So I'm at least glad they gave Marva's actress Fiona Shaw something to do in the finale. One of the most tense moments had to be when Marva was telling everyone to basically F the Empire. Meanwhile, all of the Imperials are just standing there all so pissed with rage in their eyes, but they know they can't do anything because Dedra will lose out on her chance to capture Cassian. Like I said, powerful stuff. Another small bit I liked was how confident Cassian was being on his home turf, constantly being one step ahead of the Empire, and yeah, those tunnels around the hotel that Marva opened up off-screen really helped save his life. And well, Bix's too, as while Cass didn't originally plan to do a rescue mission when he had arrived on Ferrix, he also didn't know Bix was captured, and heck, why not save her when he's got the underground tunnels to easily get inside? Plus, 99% of the Empire is busy and focused on the funeral outside, leaving practically no one but one guard inside because, you know, no one would possibly be dumb enough to even try sneaking into an Imperial garrison. Yeah, classic Imperial confidence right there that backfires hard on them. The actual riot itself was done rather well too, especially the explosions, which felt so real and almost as if they were practical. It made you feel like you were right there amongst the Ferrix crowd yourself. I also love the return of the Imperial Army troopers, with them making up majority of the Empire's presence there, with a small number of stormtroopers acting as shock troopers. It was great, and thankfully Gilroy didn't hold back from showing us that the Empire means business and what they're really capable of. Because yeah, people seem to consider the stormtroopers as a joke nowadays, when in actuality, especially during the Imperial era, they were the Empire's elite troops and feared amongst the common folk. Heck, they were even getting perfect shots in here too, and yeah, you could argue that's because they had untrained civilians right in front of them and all of that. But guess what? So did all the stormtroopers on Jabim in Obi-Wan, and only one civilian died there, while countless stormtroopers were getting mowed down left and right. Yeah, I know, absolutely brutal writing on that show, which you can't really compare here, but still, it made this whole scene so much more refreshing. Honestly, I liked a lot in this episode, but I also had problems with other portions. Like for example, Cinta and Fel on Ferrix. Their main goal was to kill Cassian, but it seems Cinta was later more focused on killing Corv instead. While Vel, I have no idea what she did or was trying to do here. If anything, she acted more like a distraction for Cinta. And even after everything was said and done with the riot being over, we still have no idea what these two are supposed to do. We just kind of end on their undercover subplot with nothing to show for the time that we invested in it. It's also similar to Cyril's subplot too. The whole time we spent following this guy, the amount of theories we kept thinking about him, and well, it all ends on a big nothing. Yeah, he ends up saving Dedra, and with Corv dead, she's gonna need a new assistant to replace him. So that's probably gonna be Cyril in Season 2, but I don't know. His story seems so bland and boring, especially with no plot twists. Again, for all the time that we spent following him, I thought there was gonna be a good big payoff, and there really wasn't. It's only about him simping for Dedra, which, speaking about her, I actually did think she did great here and was one of the best parts of the episode. She brought some Death Troopers with her, she went undercover, she was commanding and organizing her whole garrison, and even had the woman balls to argue back to Partagaz about the whole Spellhouse mission and how terrible they executed it. She did a lot here, and the best has to be during the riot scene and seeing her so terrified and shaken up at the end of it all. I thought that was perfect, considering ISB supervisors, unlike ISB agents, almost never see action like this up close and have no idea what it feels like. So this episode, showing us this and even making an Imperial like Dedra of all people here feel so vulnerable was great stuff. Now, having said that, I also didn't expect her to survive through Season 1. And seeing as this was the last episode and there being so much danger and chaos present on the streets, it kinda boggles my mind that not a single character dies. Well, yeah, some of Cassian's Ferrix friends did, and Corv did as well, but not from the riot itself. And even then, you know what I mean, like a notable and important character. Corv and Cassian's friends were more like background characters. So if they stay or die, it's not really gonna change all that much. On the flip side, another character I liked for the most part here was Cassian. Like I mentioned before, he was always one step ahead, clever, snuck in the Imperial garrison, and saved Bix. All while even killing a Death Trooper to boot. He was without a doubt a complete badass in this episode, and I like that a lot. Plus, his buddy Brasso also gets a shout out here as well for having a good and noteworthy appearance. As while in previous episodes I thought he barely showed up or didn't have much to anything to do. While here, on the other hand, he was on the forefront, starting the uprising and was even part of Cassian's plan to help rescue Bix. So that's quite a lot and it's great for Brasso. I mean, he even survives as well, but like I said, there's good and not so good parts here. I liked Dedra, Cassian, and Brasso's parts, while others clearly weren't nearly in the same quality level. I already mentioned Cinta, Vel, and Cyril. Then there's also the Coruscant side of things here, which did kinda confuse me with Mon Mothma's subplot, as she starts accusing Perrin of taking money from who knows where and gambling with it, all while their driver is secretly listening in the whole time. And at first I figured, okay, Perrin was actually gambling and Mon had a reason to be angry, why not? But after watching it again, now I'm not so sure. Because maybe she was using it as a cover to help explain the missing money in her finances. And knowing that the driver would inform the ISB, she would try to pin everything on Perrin and basically sacrifice him. Which, if so, then sure, that would make plenty of sense. But the whole scene is kind of vague and it leaves you guessing on what exactly is going on. It could either be what I just said, that Mon is setting Perrin up, or it could also just as easily be that Perrin is actually gambling. And that's just it, we're not really sure, we're just left to assume what we think is going on. Maybe some people like that, but I didn't really care for it. Oh, and yeah, we do at least get confirmation afterwards that Mon did end up agreeing to Davo's offer, which her daughter Lydia seems to be happy about it, all just to spite her mother. But I don't know, I was kind of expecting more from Lydia this season, especially to explain why she was acting all weird in the previous episodes. I was thinking there's gonna be some pretty cool twist with that, but nope, we're left without an answer there. And well, the whole Mon Mothma stuff here kinda just felt like an afterthought in general. As for the ISB on Coruscant and the whole Spellhouse mission sabotage, I was also left a tad disappointed with it. Yeah, I wasn't expecting much and figured they wouldn't even show the actual battle of Spellhouse with Krieger's men or anything like that. I kept my expectations fairly low for that. But even then, I was disappointed, as I think at least a scene of a ton of dead rebels on the ground, while the Imperials walking over them with smugness and whatnot would have been pretty neat to see. Essentially, what I'm saying is, for us to see the aftermath of the battle, we don't need to see the battle itself, I guess due to budgetary reasons and whatnot, but to see the aftermath of the battle and all of the bodies of the rebels and everything like that, that would have been powerful. Maybe have Krieger there laying on the ground just seconds away from dying, and either talking to himself or telling one of the Imperial soldiers that how could the Empire had foreseen this? Everything was so well planned, how did they see us coming? Something like that. So a bit of a wasted opportunity here in my opinion. The entirety of the Spellhouse plotline started off-screen and ended off-screen. And, well, I can't say I'm a big fan of Gilroy's tell, but don't show method here. Now, I did think the ending with Cassian leaving Bee, Bix, and Brasso on their own to escape Ferrix while he himself going to wait at the Fondor for Reluthin was pretty clever. But what I didn't like was the almost suicidal gamble he took here, telling Luthen to kill him right on the spot. It just didn't make much sense for me. And the fact that we already know Luthen doesn't kill him ahead of time only watered down this scene more. Besides, Cassian barely knows anything about Luthen. He doesn't even know his name, so how confident can he be that he won't kill him? Or then again, maybe Cass wanted to get killed right there and then, which, honestly, I don't know. You'd think he'd still want to be alive to, try and find his lost sister. But it feels like they even dropped that whole thing and gave us no resolution there either. It seems almost like at this point it was only to be used as like a plot device to get Cassian in trouble with the Corpos to start the whole domino effect of the events in the show that surround him. Which is a shame since the first episode had us thinking he was right on her trail too. He was even told that someone from Kenari that fit the description he gave was actually at the brothel there. So if it wasn't for the whole Corpo stuff, he probably would have found her. But nope, it looks like they forgot all about that. But yeah, anyways, back to the final scene. Luthen realizes that, there's more to Cassian than he originally thought, and figures that he'd be the perfect person for the rebellion, thus having to recruit him to join the cause, and that's where the episode ends. There's also a nice post-credit scene right at the end where we get confirmation that all those parts the prisoners on Narkina 5 were building, oh yeah, that's all for the Death Star, more specifically the weapon of the Death Star. Which is kinda wild when you think about it, as Cass the whole time was building parts for a weapon that would later end up killing him in Rogue One. They didn't have to put this in the post-credit scene in here, but I'm glad they did. Overall, I'm kinda mixed with the finale, as you can tell. Yeah, I will say that I liked it for the most part. But at the same time, it didn't whelm me like I expected it to. I wasn't overwhelmed, I wasn't even whelmed. Especially with the ending, which kind of just ends and then you're sitting there being like, wait, that's it? For how darn good the writing on this series is, I'm shocked of how parts of it fell apart in the finale and the final arc in general. And, well, I expected better. The writing in the Aldhani and the prison arc was so good, everything was just great. And then the show kind of falls flat at the very end. Okay, maybe that's not a good way of describing it because like I said, I still like the finale, it just wasn't nowhere near as good as those two arcs. If anything, the writing kinda felt like a downgrade from those arcs. Don't get me wrong, it's still good, it's still way better than what Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi had, but at the same time, that's not really saying much. As for Andor Season 1 overall, I'll say that I did very much like it. I wasn't in love with it like I thought I would be originally, and there were definitely some weak episodes in there, like in my opinion the first two and the last two. Which, if you think about it, isn't good for a series to start and end on a meh kinda note. But at the same time, I did genuinely like everything in the middle, and I had a blast with Andor. Could there have been improvements? For sure. And I hope they do that in Season 2, more so since that will be nearing us to the Rogue One timeline and all of that. So expectations will be high for that since I love Rogue One as a movie. Now as for Season 1, yeah, it's not perfect, no Star Wars TV series is. Heck, even The Mandalorian has weak episodes here and there. But for what Andor was, I still think every Star Wars fan should at least give Andor a try, especially the Aldhani and Narkina 5 arcs, which are my favorite out of the bunch. Yeah, it's a show with a slow burn and may not be for everyone, it doesn't really try to be. But to at least give a chance, well, that's definitely something Andor deserves to get. And that was my take of this episode and Andor Season 1 overall. Let me know what you all thought about the episode in the comments below. And if you haven't already, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.